Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're diving into one of the most incredible, genuinely heartfelt stories of the 20th century. We're looking at the life of Corrie ten Boom. She was a woman who navigated just unimaginable trauma, and yet made the profound choice to embrace forgiveness over deep, entirely justifiable hatred. This isn't just some dry history lesson, guys. It's a deeply human story about the sheer power of grace in the face of absolute darkness. Let's kick things off with this quote right here because it perfectly sets up what we're going to talk about today. Forgiveness is an act of the will, and the will can function regardless of the temperature of the heart. Now, think about that for a second. Corrie was an ordinary woman thrown into terrifying circumstances, and she realized that forgiveness isn't always this warm, fuzzy feeling. Sometimes it's a conscious, agonizing choice. Keep that in the back of your mind as we trace her journey.
Part 1. The Compassionate Watchmaker. So to really understand the magnitude of Corrie's later choices, we have to look at how she started. The ten Boom family was deeply devoted to their Christian faith, and they practiced this kind of radical hospitality. Long before the war even started, their door was always open to the poor, to refugees, lonely neighbors, kids in need, you name it. They literally believed every single person was created in the image of God. Born in Amsterdam in 1892, Corrie soon moved to Haarlem, where her dad, Casper, ran a watch repair shop. Growing up in this environment of just quiet, practical kindness, she didn't just help out in the shop, she actually learned the trade and made history, becoming the very first licensed female watchmaker in the Netherlands. She was building this pioneering, completely peaceful life.
Part 2. The Secret Hiding Place. But, as we know, everything shifted dramatically in 1940 when Nazi Germany occupied the Netherlands. Driven by their core belief in human dignity, the ten Booms couldn't just stand by while Jewish families faced horrific persecution. So they made the terrifying decision to turn their home into a safe house. They actually built a secret room right behind a false wall in Corrie's own bedroom. And this wasn't some small thing, it was a massive operation. Over several years, they helped hundreds of people escape. We're talking safe shelter, securing food, forging fake IDs, arranging transportation, plus offering spiritual encouragement and prayer. And they did all of this knowing that if they were caught, it meant certain death. It was a staggering logistical and moral undertaking taken on at enormous personal risk.
Part 3. Darkness in Ravensbrück. Tragically, it wasn't a random search that brought them down. It was a betrayal. On February 28, 1944, a tip-off led the Gestapo directly to their front door. The consequences were immediate, and they were devastating. The Gestapo raided the house and arrested the entire family. Now, remarkably, the 6 people hiding in that secret room at the time actually remained undetected and were rescued later. But the family? They paid a profound price. Corrie's father, Casper, was 84 years old when they arrested him, and he died in prison just a few days later. After that, Corrie and her beloved sister Betsie were deported to the absolute horrors of the Ravensbrück concentration camp in Germany.
In Ravensbrück, the sisters faced unrelenting hunger, rampant disease, forced labor, and just sheer brutality. But look at this incredible contrast. How did they respond to this overwhelming darkness? By secretly holding Bible studies right there in their barracks to offer the other women some shred of hope. Get this, Betsie even insisted they give thanks for everything. And I mean everything, literally including the fact that their barracks were heavily infested with fleas. It sounds crazy, right? But why? Because those very fleas kept the guards from entering, which allowed the women to study and pray in total peace. They literally found salvation in a flea infestation.
Part 4. An Impossible Choice. The tragedy only deepened in December 1944 when Betsie died in the camp. But then, just days later, due to what was essentially a miraculous clerical error, Corrie was released, which completely saved her from execution. Within weeks of her release, all the other women her age who were left in the camp were murdered. After the war ended, Corrie started traveling the world, preaching this message of healing and the transforming power of Christ. But one day, after giving a talk on forgiveness in Germany, she was suddenly confronted by one of her former captors. He was a former guard from Ravensbrück who had since become a Christian. He stood right in front of her, reached out his hand, and asked her to forgive him.
Imagine that moment. Corrie stood there, wrestling with just a whirlwind of trauma and pain. In that agonizing, emotional struggle, she didn't feel warmth. She didn't feel immediate grace. But she remembered the profound words her sister Betsie had spoken right before she died in the camp. There is no pit so deep that God's love was not deeper still. Relying entirely on that truth, Corrie made the ultimate act of the will. She reached out, took the hand of the man who represented her absolute deepest nightmare,
and she chose to forgive him. Part 5. A legacy of forgiveness.
That singular act of will wasn't just a personal victory for Corrie. It became the cornerstone of a massive global legacy. She wrote all about her family's incredible courage in her famous autobiography, The Hiding Place, which has gone on to inspire millions of readers. She established rehabilitation centers for Holocaust survivors and anyone else traumatized by the war. She spent the rest of her 91 years traveling to more than 60 countries, just sharing her story. In 1967, she and her family were honored by Yad Vashem as Righteous Among the Nations. You can even visit the preserved Ten Boom House in Harlem today and see that exact hiding place for yourself. Ultimately, her legacy is the living proof that love, grace, and forgiveness are, without a doubt, stronger than hatred and suffering.
So, to wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a rather provocative question. If Corrie ten Boom could stand face-to-face with a guard from Ravensbrück, lean into her faith, and forgive the unimaginable, what hatred or bitterness are you holding on to today? Her life is a powerful challenge to us all, reminding us that true courage isn't just about facing physical danger, it's about choosing compassion and forgiveness no matter the circumstances. Thanks so much for joining me today on this incredible journey.